Hi, it's me, Squirrel, and today we're going to make gluten-free sandwich bread, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways. I'm going to show you white, I'm going to show you brown, and I'm going to show you rye style. And I need to start off with telling you that I don't buy pre-blended flours. I blend my own because I save a lot more money and I have a lot more creative flexibility when I do that. And so today I'm going to show you just the very basic, and you can switch this up any way you like. So this is how it works. My ratio is this. I can do half and half starch and flour. The flours don't have to be one flour. Right here today I'm going to be using brown rice flour and oat flour, which I just ground up, and then an equal amount of tapioca starch. And you can start there. You might want yours a little lighter and fluffier, add more tapioca starch. You might need to add more or less water depending on where you're at. Sometimes if you're in a humid climate, you use less water. I'm in a very, very dry climate. I always end up using more water, always. And so I think there's like 11 ingredients total, and you can pronounce them all. That's fun. So to start with, I'm going to heat up my oven. Heat it up to about 350. I put mine a little higher because I'm also at a higher elevation and dry, so it gets really fun to bake here. So first thing I'm going to do is get all my dry ingredients mixed together in this bowl here. So that's oat flour, that's rice flour, and tapioca starch. Be careful with the tapioca starch. It wants to make a mess really bad. And then, while we're doing this, we're going to start. I have yeast, and I have just a sprinkling of sugar to wake up the yeast. So we're going to get that going. Let me get my water. Perfect. Oh, and I have this great tiny little whisk. I have a tiny whisk. All right, I'm going to kind of get that sugar kind of mixed into the water better. And we'll throw in this yeast. The recipe with its amounts will be down below, and you can find that in the description. It'll have all the amounts I'm using because I forgot to tell you, so we're just going to do it later. Give that guy a few minutes to bloom, and while that's happening, we're going to put the psyllium husk and the flaxseed meal into here along with the salt. And I'm gonna mix those together well. If you put it in like I did and you put the tapioca starch on top, be very careful when you do this. It wants to fly out and have a dance party. And then, because I say dance party because if it gets on the floor, it is the slipperiest stuff ever. It's like having powder on the floor or chalk. You just slide right into the next room. Okay, we're gonna get this all mixed up. Nice. Can you see that? Can you see that? All right. So this is going to be a white bread. If you wanted to make a brown bread, you'd swap out the oat flour and put in buckwheat. Buckwheat makes a really, really good brown bread. It also makes an exceptional sourdough. And if you wanted to go for a rye style bread, say you just got your hands on some really good pastrami and you really, really want a good pastrami sandwich. Well, what you'd add to that is a little bit, you'd make the brown bread, right, with the buckwheat, but you'd use bread spice, which I will put the recipe down below and I'll show you some before we're done here. And bread spice is just, I believe it's German, I think, that's what I read, and I kind of made my own mix of it, and I added extra dill because I like a good dill rye. If you like more caraway, add more caraway. It's up to you. You can go in all kinds of directions. That's why I like to make my own mixes, because I have a lot more of that creative flexibility I was talking about. My yeast hath bloomed. That's Shakespeare. So, okay, now we're up to the wet ingredients. The yeast is blooming. I've got my water here. I've got an egg. I've got a little bit of honey and a little bit of vinegar. And we're going to get all of these guys in here. So let's do our egg first. Egg is optional, by the way. You can, if you want to no egg. And water is optional. It's not optional. You have to have a liquid, but it can be milk if you would like. It can be a nut milk, it can be a hemp milk, it can be cow milk, it can be goat milk, whatever. I'm using water. If you want a softer bread, you're going to want to add a little bit of a fat to it, like butter or a neutral vegetable oil, between 4 and 8 tablespoons. kind of a lot, keeps the bread real soft, but it never lasts that long here at my house. So that's how that goes. Let's get our egg in there. And clean up as you go. It's a lifesaver. All right, we got our egg, we got our vinegar. I'm not gonna scoop it out with my finger. Wait, I might scoop it out with my finger. Where are my tools? Okay, well, here we go. Let's get that out of there. A little bit of honey, about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half. Now I have to wash my finger. I've got honey finger. Now I have honey sink. All right. Okay. Moving along. Now I don't whisk this part because it gets gooey fast. So what I'm gonna do is that was for measuring earlier, sorry. I'm going to break up my egg just a little bit, and then I'm gonna pour in half of this water, and I'm gonna pour in my yeast. I don't like the yeast getting overwhelmed with stuff. If you throw your salt right on top of your yeast, salt kills yeast, so that's not gonna make for a good bread. I don't recommend it. Right? I just heard Creepy give a, learn something new every day. All right, yeah, I'm gonna totally need to get more water. It's so dry here. I had to spend half of my morning moisturizing just to be on camera. Creepy laughs, but she was the one who was bringing the moisturizer. Oh, it's so dry. So yeah, I mean, if you end up with something that looks all crumbly and funky like this, you need more water. Wow. One moment. So for math's sake, that was 400 grams of flour and 400 milliliters of water, because I was trying to go for a 100% hydration. But this flour has sat in this dry area for so long that it's really, really dry. So we're gonna have to add a little more water. I'm gonna start with another about 100 milliliters, I think. Oh yeah. And also, different flours absorb water at different rates. So, sometimes like oat flour and buckwheat and teff and all these other sorghum, they all absorb water at different rates. This one is dense. We don't want it dense. We want it loose. Almost cake batter-like is what we're going for here. Oh, wow. Yeah, this might be double water. I don't know. You're gonna have to play it by ear. I'm gonna have to play it with wood because silicone ain't cutting it. Let's go with something a little stronger. There we go. This is why the last time I tried to make this video, I splashed flour water all over the countertop because I used too small of a bowl. So the goo was at the top of the bowl and I was trying to stir it and mix it like this. No, it didn't work. You know I'm cutting out a whole lot of this part, right? All right, into the point where I start to do this. There we go. Get in there. Incorporate, damn you. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay. There we go. There we go. And see, the other problem is if I give this a few more minutes, it's gonna solidify. So I'm gonna make it just slightly looser, give it another 25 to 50. Because, wow. That's a strong bread. There we go. Okay, now that we've got this all incorporated and see, cake battery, right? I can get rid of the wooden spoon now and move back to silicone. And you get a nice workout. Okay. scoop this stuff off the sides. As you can see, it's all pretty wet. Now you're gonna take your Pullman loaf pan. Your Pullman loaf pan. I can't talk more about these. I love these so much. This one you can see is very well used. This is not a sales pitch. I love my Pullman loaf pans. They changed the world of gluten-free bread. You know when you go to the store and you buy a loaf of gluten-free bread and it looks like one of those little snack loaves? It's got the bread that's like this tall, and like you can put if you get that little inch by 1 inch by 1 inch block of cheese, you can put that on there. A lot of the gluten-free bread looks about that size to me. I was never able to make a good full-size sandwich loaf until I found this pan, because it's a lot taller on the sides and this type of batter won't ooze out. So that's how we're gonna get a full loaf of bread. If you only have regular loaf pans at home, don't make this recipe at this size. Cut it down. It will overflow. Back to it. Now I'm gonna give it a good spray, because I used to not have to give it a spray, but I've used them a lot. So hang on. Ooh, okay. Here we go. Transfer your nice rice and oat batter into the pan. Wow, that's really cool looking. I wish I had a camera pointed straight down. All right, I'm gonna get this all out of the bowl. Hopefully we'll keep it all in the pan. I have missed the pan while doing this before. That's not fun. All right. All right, so now it's in here, ready to roll. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave it sit here for 30 minutes. If you go much longer than that, you may end up with an over-risen loaf, and sometimes you get a big air bubble right in the center, about that big around, which is great if you have kielbasa on hand. You can just shove a cooked kielbasa in there, call it a sandwich, and it's great. Otherwise, it's just a big hole in the bread. So only go up to 30 minutes. I usually look at it around. Here's the thing, it never looks like it's rising much at all, but you put it in the oven, and after about 10 minutes, the thing is like bursting out of the pan. So be careful. Sourdough, wild sourdough, takes hours and doesn't do the burst. This is commercial yeast, regular old, bought it at the grocery store yeast. So 30 minutes in there and it'll get a lot bigger. So don't let it rise to the top of the pan and then put it in there, or you'll have trouble. So we're gonna cover this with a nice clean towel, and we'll be back in 30 minutes. All right, so now we have the bread. It has risen for a half an hour. It doesn't look like it has risen at all, but it has. So now we're gonna put this in the 350 degree oven for approximately 1 hour. I would check it after 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and see where you're at. If you want to see the poof, that usually is about at the 15-minute marker. It will poof, and I will grab my other camera and get a shot of pre and post poof, right? Okay, here I go. So before I pull this loaf out of the oven, I wanted to show you my little tiny jar of bread spice. So bread spice is fennel, anise, caraway, dang it. I can do this. I'll put the recipe down below. Let's just do that. I'll put the recipe below, and then after you use the base of this recipe, then you add the flavor like caraway or dill when you make your bread. That way you always have this and you can make both kinds. Don't make it with the dill or caraway in it, because then it's just dill or caraway. All right, let's get this thing out of the oven. Poof, see? It poofed, just like I said. Got really tall in there. So let's just take this out and let it cool down to room temperature, because, oh, look what I did. Come on. I'm gonna pry this out of here and we're gonna let it cool down to room temperature. I got a tool. It's usually just stuck on one little spot, like a corner. Here we go. Now the magic is happening. Let's try that again. There we go. And there's the bread. So we'll let that cool down to room temperature. Have I said room temperature yet 3 times? Oh, good. Okay, so let that cool down and then you can slice it. If you slice it before it's cooled down, it'll get gummy and weird because gluten-free bread can be its own beast. So we'll come back in about an hour and a half to 2 hours and see how this is and have a taste. Okay, here we are, and the bread is now cooled down enough to slice. This is my favorite part of the video because I get to eat it. So let's just see what we got here. Good crispity, crunchity outside. Ooh, that good crumb going on, right? And now here's the best part. Wait, hold on. I gotta get it ready. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, how did this Oregon-grown Marionberry jam get out here? Oh no. I better put it on this bread so it doesn't go to waste. Whatever excuse you gotta use. So this was the white sandwich bread. This is really good. After the day after you cook it, it's best to toast it from that point forward. It just holds up better that way. You can also slice it and put it into the freezer and just pull out what you need when you need it and throw it in the toaster. So that's a good way to go too. Yes. The answer is yes. That's really damn good. I like the oat. I used honey. If you're gonna make the brown bread, use molasses. Molasses goes with buckwheat, honey goes with oats, and the molasses goes with the rye style as well, due to the buckwheat. So go make yourself some bread. Have a great day.